I just wanted to make a video about this boiler for a couple reasons. Number one, I don't get to come across this style of boiler very often. Number two, the gentleman that hired us, he's a landlord. I think he'd be interested in learning a little bit more about it. And then, number three, the thing is just archaic. So if we look, this is old school here, and we'll talk about why I say that. But if we look here on this date code, typically that letter indicates the month. So a D would be fourth letter in the alphabet, so that's April. And then this would be the year. So I believe that this is an April 1972 vintage, which would mean that it's 52 years old. So typically on the very new boilers that we put in, we call those high efficiency, but this is cast iron. We still sell cast iron boilers, but most of the time they have a power vent. This is just atmospherically ran, so the exhaust gets hot and it just rises. You got to have constant upward slope on your exhaust pipe. And then this unit, you will see, have no circulation pumps, nothing here. So this is all just like a passive system where the warm water travels to replace the cold water or vice versa, and that's how it transports hot water. Typically nowadays we'll use circulation pumps to do that, and I don't know if that's necessarily a better way. I can tell you that typically we don't need to install this large a pipe. I think that's 2-inch pipe right there, which is just huge, man. I mean, normally now for a run upstairs or something, we maybe run 1.25 inch copper, but this is way bigger than what's needed now with pumps. And I think they had to do these bigger systems back then for transporting that heat, because if you had a little pipe, it just wouldn't do it. But another thing that's notable about this unit is it has no electricity going to it. Usually we'll have something that plugs in, and then it'll have a transformer of some sort that produces 24 volt. This doesn't have that. This actually has what's called a millivolt generator. So a lot of times we'll see thermocouples now, but in the flame there, and I can't really get a picture of it. That little guy, that cylinder sticking up there, that's called a millivolt generator. So that's just producing a minute amount of electricity. You got two metals rubbing together, producing just small amounts of electricity. And it sends it up this wire to here, and then it just goes up to the thermostat. You have two wires. Actually, they're going to hit this aquastat first, but they go all the way up to the thermostat. The thermostat connects them together like a light switch. It just touches them together, so that completes the circuit up there, and then it comes down here. And this is an aquastat. This is measuring temperature inside the unit. You can see that it's set to like 180 degrees Fahrenheit. So that thing remains closed, meaning the circuit is completed until it hits 180 degrees Fahrenheit, and then it'll shut, or it'll open up, and then the circuit will be incomplete. But it's a very, very simple system. Like I said, there's really no electricity needed. This one's steaming right now because I had to replace the T&P valve, that guy back there, that was leaking. So when I got here, there was literally no water pressure, and now it's just boiling that off. But the other thing I wanted to show you guys is this right here. So now modern cast iron boilers will have a fusible link down here somewhere. A fusible link is just like a wire that melts at a certain temperature. And so that wire has electricity running through it. If it melts, then the thing shuts off. And that's how they regulate whether the boiler's overheating or not. This style unit does not have that. It doesn't have a fusible link. It just goes to town. And I actually don't know what it has to make sure that it doesn't burn up, but whatever. I mean, it is what it is. So that's the deal with this guy. So anyways, when we see this is indicative of, the exhaust, or the air that the exhaust has is supposed to travel down there. It lights on fire, it goes up through these little fingers, and then it goes up the exhaust and goes out. When we see this kind of stuff right here, that's an indication that that heat is kind of coming back towards us. So it could be that we have that we need more draft air. You know, this unit is just passive, so if it doesn't have if we have a negative pressure inside versus outside, so meaning that air wants to come in more than go out, then the unit can do this, because we want the pressures inside and outside to be relatively the same, so that air just travels with the heat, the exhaust travels with the heat. If there's a negative pressure, then that heat is fighting to come back into the house, and then you get this kind of thing. The other reason this can happen is that the heat exchanger isn't cleaned. So on a cast iron boiler, we recommend a heat exchanger cleaning. Like, we see it about every 15 to 20 years. If you were to read the manual, I'm sure it says quicker than that, but you know, every 15 years or so, if you open that thing up, there's all these little fingers going all over the place. That hot exhaust goes through those fingers, and then inside the fingers is water, and that's how it heats the water. And those fingers build up soot. I'll see if I have a picture of it. I know I have pictures of them. Maybe I have a picture of an oil burning one, because those are usually pretty cool. They're real sooted up. So I'll see what I got for that. But that's the deal. So I am going to recommend a heat exchanger cleaning. It might already been done. The problem with doing this kind of stuff, you almost want to have a little spray paint can or something, or write on it to indicate that it's been done. Because if I did it today and left it like this, the next guy that comes in a month, for instance, he might say, hey, that thing needs to be cleaned. And if the property recently changed hands or something, nobody knows anything. We don't know if it was done recently or not. So it is worth at least like marking the territory there, whether it's painting it, writing on it. You know, we really don't have any indication of anything that's been done on this unit. So we'll talk to the property owner or the property manager about that and see what he says. But that is of interest. This property has 2 boilers. We can see that this boiler has a little bit of that there too. So that's something to think about. We can see there's a bunch of soot there as well. You know, so this stuff could be lining that heat exchanger quite a bit. It's hard to say without looking into it, but this is just a puddle from me emptying out that T&P valve back there. So anyways, we're going to watch this thing for a couple more cycles, make sure it keeps turning on. I'm kind of inclined to change that millivolt generator. It seems a little sluggish to me, but the pilot light is staying on at the time, so we'll see what we end up doing there. But I hate having callbacks, so it might be worth changing that out. But other than that, it's a cool old system. It's real neat. So thanks for watching. Press like and subscribe and all that, and we'll see you on the next one.